The Spanish Civil War was one of the most intense, violent, and ideological conflicts of the 20th century. Between 1936 and 1939, Spain plunged into a brutal struggle between Republicans and Nationalists, a battle that would echo across the entire world, foreshadowing the global storm to come. This wasn't just a war for Spain. It was a war for the soul of Europe. On one side were the Republicans, loyal to the democratically elected Spanish Second Republic. Their coalition was a complex mix of urban progressives, intellectuals, and workers, tortured by a spectrum of left-wing groups, including anarchists, communists, and socialists. Their flag, the tricolor, represented a vision of a modern, secular Spain. On the other side, the Nationalists united a diverse range of conservative and right-wing factions. This group included the fascist-inspired Phalange, staunch monarchists who longed for the return of the king, traditionalist Carlists, and devout Catholics who feared the Republic's secular policies. They rallied under the leadership of a shrewd and ambitious general, Francisco Franco. The Spanish War quickly became a proxy conflict, a dress rehearsal for World War II. The battle lines weren't just Spanish, they were international. Fascist Italy under Mussolini and Nazi Germany under Hitler saw an opportunity to test their new military hardware and tactics, supplying Franco's nationalists with weapons, aircraft like the infamous Condor Legion, and thousands of troops. In response, the embattled Republic found its main ally in the Soviet Union, which provided tanks, planes, and military advisors. But perhaps most famously, volunteers from all over the world, including writers like George Orwell and Ernest Hemingway, flocked to Spain to defend the Republic. They formed the legendary International Brigades, fighting and dying for a cause they believed was a global stand against fascism. The conflict erupted on July 17, 1936, when a group of nationalist generals launched a coordinated military coup against the Republican government. They expected a swift, decisive takeover, but their plan faltered. While they seized control of conservative strongholds in the south and west, the coup failed in key areas. The industrial and urban centers, including the capital Madrid, Barcelona, and the Basque Country, remained fiercely loyal to the Republic. Spain was brutally split in two, not just geographically, but ideologically, socially, and emotionally. The failed coup plunged the nation into a full-scale civil war. The years that followed were defined by a series of brutal and decisive battles. The Nationalists, pushing towards the capital, laid siege to the Alcazar of Toledo, a dramatic standoff that became a powerful symbol of nationalist resistance. They then began the long, grinding assault on Madrid, the city's defenders, with the rallying cry, "No pasarán," "They shall not pass," mounted a heroic defense that held off Franco's forces for nearly 3 years. Other bloody clashes followed, like the battles of Jarama and Guadalajara, where the international brigades faced off against Italian troops in some of the war's most intense fighting. A major turning point came in 1937. Franco shifted his strategy and launched a major offensive in the north. This region, including the Basque Country and Asturias, was the industrial heartland of Spain. One by one, the northern cities fell: Bilbao, Santander, Gijón. This campaign included one of the war's most infamous events, the bombing of Guernica by the German Condor Legion, an atrocity immortalized in Picasso's masterpiece. With the north lost, the Republic was deprived of vital resources and factories, dealing a crippling blow to its war effort and leaving it severely weakened. By 1938, the Republic was desperate. In a final daring attempt to turn the tide, its army launched its largest offensive of the war, the Battle of the Ebro. Republican soldiers crossed the Ebro River in a surprise attack, hoping to reconnect their divided territory and inflict a decisive defeat on the Nationalists. For months, they fought with incredible courage in one of the longest and bloodiest battles of the war. But ultimately, the offensive stalled. Exhausted and outgunned, the Republican forces were pushed back, their army shattered. The defeat at the Ebro was the final nail in the coffin. The Republic's last great hope was extinguished. With the Republican army broken, the end came swiftly. In early 1939, nationalist forces swept through Catalonia, capturing Barcelona with little resistance. Hundreds of thousands of desperate civilian and military refugees fled towards the French border in a harrowing exodus. Finally, on March 28, 1939, Madrid, the symbol of Republican resistance, surrendered. A few days later, on April 1st, General Franco declared victory. The war was over. It marked the beginning of a dark chapter in Spanish history, a military dictatorship that would last for nearly 4 decades, till Franco's death in 1975. The war was marked by unimaginable cruelty on both sides. In Republican zones, a wave of anti-clerical violence and political purges known as the Red Terror saw thousands of priests, nuns, and political opponents executed. In nationalist-controlled territories, Franco's forces carried out a systematic and brutal repression known as the White Terror, executing tens of thousands of Republicans, sympathizers, and intellectuals, a campaign of extermination that continued long after the war had ended. It was a conflict that tore families apart and left a legacy of deep, unhealed wounds. The Spanish Civil War was far more than just an internal Spanish conflict. It was a crucible where the great ideologies of the 20th century fascism, communism, and democracy clashed head-on. It serves as a tragic and powerful reminder of how political polarization, when taken to its extreme, can fracture a society and unleash unimaginable destruction. It's a story of heroism, betrayal, and profound tragedy that still resonates today. If you found this journey into history compelling, please hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. Your support helps us continue telling these important stories. Thanks for watching.